Hi, I've returned. This time for World Pokemon Federation. Yeah, we're in the big leagues now, something like that. We're in the Wi-Fi division. I signed up for Wi-Fi, and yeah, I played a PBAL in Wi-Fi, so I was like, I actually quite enjoyed it. It gave me content, gave me good quality content actually. Had some good battles, and I'm still in semis for that, which will go up eventually. I play that tomorrow. It'll go up Sunday. No quarters, audio, video issues. Anyway, World Pokemon Federation. I forgot what pick we had, but it was not a good one. It was a late pick. I can look. I don't have my phone near me. Anyway, I'm not looking then. But it wasn't great. So all like the top notch Pokemon were already gone. So I know I already drafted Goldingo. Obviously, Goldingo is my first Pokemon. Um, Goldingo was my first Pokemon I picked. This Pokemon's broken. It's kind of just as simple as that. It has a very busted ability that and like the issue with Golding, or the thing that's so good about Goldingo is good as gold. Obviously, Blanc's defog and such, and then it Blanc's rapid spin too because it's a ghost type. So you pair this with hazards and like any type of offensive Pokemon on top of it. Like this is not want to be your sole offensive Pokemon. Like you can't have this plus like Chansey, Slowbro, then like Spikes, like Tinglu. I don't know. This really can't satisfy as your only offensive Pokemon. Just because you can definitely prep for it. The thing is, this Pokemon will always force prep. Even if it does not have a good matchup, it will force prep. And I think top tiers uh, are very important about that. Like, no matter what, you need to be able to force prep. Which, I mean, pretty much every top tier does. But Goldingo is a little different because you have to be able to prepare not just for Goldingo, but what Goldingo supports. And that's what I very much like about this Pokemon. Um, yeah, you see its notable moves. Everyone knows its notable moves. But not only that, it can be an offensive Pokemon. It can be a screen setter. It can be a support Pokemon with Thunder Wave, Hex stuff. It gets recovery. It's just, it's a bulky. Its typing is really good. Ghost Steel, very solid. The only issue is that at times it can be annoying to be your only Steel. Just because, like, imagine like a Lele or something. Lele now can hit you with Shadow Ball. Obviously, can't Focus Blast you, but Focus Blast is arguably better because he'll just miss. Lele will just miss. But it has a very good speed here. Um, good speed here, really good bulk, really offensive. Like to the point where you don't have to invest into it, and you can just invest into bulk. Like in the speed tier being 84 means you outspeed base 80s, which is just huge. So I feel like this Pokemon is very, very much worth a first round pick. Um, again, we didn't have like the earlier picks. I think I was mid. I think I was in the middle or like mid to late. I don't know. I never get good draft picks, but no matter what, I wanted to pair this with. I didn't have to get hazards yet. There's plenty of hazard setters. I thought about getting Ting Lu, but either A, it was gone, B, I just didn't want it, or C, yeah, it's one of those two really. And I knew I didn't have to focus on hazards yet. Like, it wasn't a necessity yet. Obviously, eventually I was going to get something, but at this time I wanted to pair it with another offensive Pokemon, probably another Pokemon that forces a physical defense Pokemon, because, like, what comes in on Goldingo? Uh, Bulky Waters, um, Dark types even. So I want something that can force knocks or just force damage into these Pokemon, or force it to be Fizz Def. So my next Pokemon was Weavile. Weavile. It's the exact same core I have PPAL. It's very busted. Um, it's just, and this one's triple axle. This one's triple axle, by the way. By now it gets triple axle, which is nuts because it's so strong. The thing with Weavile is that paired with Goldingo, obviously Weavile is also gonna be very busted with hazards, But the thing with it is that it forces these bulky waters, it forces these bulkier steel types, it forces dark types and stuff. Everything that Goldingo hits, Weavile also hits. Therefore, it forces these Pokemon to be Fizdef or Spadef. Or else it can be mixed, but that still makes it's just good. So, when you combine the two, you can't check both of them, probably. But if, like, a dark type is your only way to check both of them, well, then you gotta choose. You gotta pick and choose. If a bulky water is your way of checking both these Pokemon, well, it's not going to. You know, like, Weavile is gonna force, like, I don't know. What's a bulky? Scrafty. Let's just say Scrafty. Even though it's gonna get blown away by D-Gleam. But, let's say I didn't have D-Gleam on, Goldingo. Weavile's gonna force a knockoff into it. No longer does it have boots or lefties or rocky helmet or whatever item it wants. And then Triple Axle is gonna do like 40%. So then now it's in Goldingo range for Make It Rain. And if you're Spadef, then you're just gonna take way too much from Triple Axle and Low Kick. They just combine together for a very solid offensive pairing. And the speed share is just really nice. I wanted something very quick to pair with Goldingo. Obviously, Goldingo's a very good speed share to work around. It's a good start, but obviously, I still need to get other speedsters. But now, obviously, I want a Pokemon that can swap into stuff. I want a Pokemon that can get these things in. A U-turner. Like that was very much the focus now. Is that I need defensive pivot that can get these Pokemon in, which is where Slowking comes in. Once again, same thing for my PBAL draft. This 3 was like the main core in PBAL. I only draft. This doesn't stay. Like I draft a lot more Pokemon that are new, but at this point, this core got me to semis. At this point, I'm in semis. I've not played semis yet, but why would I fix it? This Pokemon's really bulky, and another thing is Future Sight. Like Future Sight plus Chilly Reception into like Weavile and Goldingo both. It's so strong. Because now you have to swap into Weavile and Goldingo on top of a Future Sight. So, so like your fighting types can't come in on Weavile anymore, because even if they get knocked, they're gonna get blown away from a Future Sight. Your bulky Wanderers no longer can keep and swap into these things, just because, especially Weavile, like a Fizdef Pokemon's gonna swap into that and then take 40% from Future Sight, and then you're in range of Triple Axle. There's just Future Sight pivoting with Slowking, on top of Chilly Reception giving Weavile a defense boost. It's just incredibly valuable. Plus the Thunder Wave support. Obviously, Goldingo could do that himself, but if I don't want to do that, I want to be more an offensive Goldingo, I can Thunder Wave, make things slower than Goldingo, and suddenly Nasty Plot win the game. So at this point, I have closer to the wheel pick. So I wanted, at this point, I had like the main core, but I needed something to fill it in. And so I picked Cobalion. This is a little odd, but at this point I didn't have a rocker. I wanted another steel type. But it wasn't so much that. I needed a speed tier between Goldingo and Weavile. This is like dead in the middle. I still want another speed tier between Cobalion and Weavile, but right now I have a 108 Pokemon, which forces 110s to run speed for it. Give me a rocker, give me a setup sweeper. It got Aura Sphere, so now Calm Mind's like a genuine threat because I don't have to risk Focus Blast. It gets really solid coverage. I'm a fan of this Pokemon. It seems like most people aren't actually, because it is relatively weak, but it got Body Press now also. I didn't put that on here, but that's a new move it got. It got Iron Defense and Body Press, which paired with this defense is extremely strong actually. So like obviously you're offensively kind of weak, but that's fine because you just run Body Press and you're definitely not defensively weak. But yeah, this gave me another pivot. At this point, I had Chilly Reception, obviously, but Volt Switch gives me another pivot into what's it called? It gave me answers to what Goldingo and Weavile don't like at this point. Because right now, I don't actually like obviously Dark type. I don't want to swap into. Weavile's not swapping in anything, and uh, Goldingo and Slowking obviously can't. So at this point, Weavile and Goldingo offensively beat things, but they don't defensively beat anything. Slowking helped with the bulky waters, but right now still weak to dark types and such. And Cobalion, I'm very adamant about when you draft Cobalion, it cannot be your only steel type. So at this point, I have my other steel type. I don't have to draft another one. I have a top tier steel paired with this Pokemon. So obviously you got the steel overlap, but Cobalion is not a very good steel type, but it's a very good fighting type. In my opinion, it gets good coverage. Yeah, at this point, it just gave me my first rocker. It was a rock pivot, can set up a sweep if need be. Now my fifth Pokemon, big fan of this Pokemon. The logic here was at this point I have no ground answer. Um, it gave me another pivot. I'm very focused on pivoting with this team. I want momentum because I want to get Weavile, biggest thing on the team. Just want to Weavile in as much as possible. Noivern also gave me a Defogger at this point, which I didn't put on here, but I don't bring hazards. I don't bring defog very much. And granted, the odds of me defogging often are low. Like, I'm gonna be the one setting hazards up and stopping them from defogging and spinning. But if need be, I need the ability to do that. So, Noivern gave me that. It gave me a ground immunity at this point. It gave me another speed tier, which not very important because Weavile pretty much hits it too, but still gave me another speed tier I didn't hit. Yeah, it gave me a dragon at this point, which if I can get a good fairy, because I don't have one at this point, I have double steel and then dragon, so if I can fill out the fairy dragon steel, helps with that. It gave me a pretty good flying type. It's just, I'm a huge fan of this Pokemon. I think it's very, very good. It's a great support Pokemon, great offensive Pokemon. This is not my Terra Captain, though, and I'm still questioning that, like, to date. I'm still questioning that. But, I understand, like, my logic there was that this Pokemon is a very good Terra Captain. It's very offensive, and, like, you can run, like, Terra Normal with Boom Burst. Or you can just run Terra Stab. Like, Terra Flying Hurricanes are so deadly. But I didn't think I needed it. I wanted other things to be my Terra Captain. You'll see them. But Noivern just gave me another pivot, a Defogger, Taunt, Super Fang Cheese. I can weaken Steel types for Weavile and Goldingo and stuff like that. Strong special attacker too, because at that point I'm getting not necessarily physically focused. I have Cobalion and Weavile physically, but this also pairs nicely with Future Sight. It's just a good Pokemon. It's a good support Pokemon to help with everything else and a ground immunity. Next, I grabbed Sandy Shocks. This is definitely not what I came into this draft expecting to get, but I saw it, I'm like, good speed tier. It gave me a 101 speed tier because that's between Cobalion and Goldingo, which I did definitely want one more. I probably want one between Sandy Shocks and Goldingo as well, but Sandy Shocks gave me a ground type. It gave me an electric type, not as big of a deal, but at this point, I didn't have like a hazard stacker at this point. Like I had a rocker. I had one rocker. But I didn't have a ground type. I didn't have a great flying resist. Goldingo was the only one. But yeah, Sandy Shocks fills every role I needed at this point. Like the biggest thing is it gave me a booster Pokemon, so it like counters other people's boosters energy. Not booster energy, but like sun. It counters sun and electric terrain. Like gives me an answer to these guys. It gave me a ground type. It gave me another pivot. But again, like I said, the biggest thing was the hazards. I finally have my hazard stacker, quote unquote. It's probably not going to be used as a hazard stacker as much, but basically, if you don't have a really solid ground type, this thing will Volt Switch on everything. Like, its special attack is very, very high, obviously. It's meant to be a strong special attacker. You can run booster on it. You can boost speed. You can boost special attack. I think you can even boost defense. I assume. I don't know that, but it looks like you can. I don't know why you do that, but just if need be. But Sage is just very strong, and it gave me a speed tier that I wanted at this point. I didn't necessarily need, but I definitely wanted. Um, Another pivot. Like again, very focused on the pivoting aspect. I want hazards up, then pivoting, and it gave me a screens option too, which Goldingo could do, but I don't want to focus on that really. This gave me a real screens option. And right now, my team definitely could benefit from screens with Goldingo, with Cobalion, with Weavile. I could definitely benefit from screens. I drafted. Oh, speaking of which, this shiny is very good. I had to run the shiny spikes because I couldn't find the Gen 9 sprites without them being shiny. I found these on DeviantArt, I think. Yeah, these are from DeviantArt. The rest are from Project Pokemon. But these are all from DeviantArt. Some guy I found had like pretty much every sprite that I could ever need, but they were all shiny. So yeah, shiny Cleavor had to be the pick here. Unfortunately, it's ugly, but that's fine because we don't judge here. But yeah, we would not be using shiny Cleavor. Like shiny Sandy Shanks looks very nice. But Cleavor on the other hand, not so much. But I drafted Cleavor. This was kind of an out of the blue pick. Like I think this was not my original pick. If I, oh, was it? I think Cleavor was my original pick. But at this point, I didn't have anything to like. I don't know. I wanted another rocker because at this point, I still only had Sandy Shocks and Cobalion, which aren't bad, but like. Sandy Shocks, I'm clicking rocks and wasting a turn, and I don't really want to run rocks on Sandy Shocks most of the time. Most of the time, I want spikes on that. So, and Cobalion is going to be forced to run rocks otherwise. I don't really want to be forced into running these things. So, if I just run Cleavor, I can Stone Axe and don't have to think. But it's going to be really solid win con. I guess Trailblaze, it's just strong with Sharpness. Sharpness boosted attacks are very tough to switch into. It gave me, once again, another pivot. Gave me Trailblaze win con potential. It's just very strong. Very solid Scarfer, too, if I don't have to deal with hazards. Which, I mean, I probably will at times, but if I don't have to deal with hazards, then it's a very solid Scarfer. Just very raw, strong. Doesn't necessarily need to be like an attack boosting item. Like, it doesn't have to be Life Orb. It doesn't have to be banded to do damage. It's going to do a damage anyway. Hopefully don't miss too many Stone Axes, because that would really suck. I don't want to miss Stone Axe. But if it happens, hey, it happened. So at this point, I didn't have a real Ghost Dancer. Like, I didn't have many defensive pivots. Like, I only had Slowking, really. And then Lord River could be bulky. And then Sadie Shocks can be, I guess, if it need be. But, like, I have a lot of Pokemon that can be bulky if I want them to be. But I don't want to be forced into running my offensive Pokemon defensively. And I didn't have a Ghost immunity. Like, I had Weavile, but that's not a real Ghost Resist. And outside of that, I just didn't have a Ghost Answer. So, my pick was also a PBAL comeback. This is the last one. This is a PBAL comeback. But, this gave me another rocker, and it gave me a Toxic user, which I didn't have yet, if I recall correctly. I don't think. Did they spread Toxic yet? Does everything get Toxic yet? I actually don't know. I should probably check that. I don't think everything gets Toxic still. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Toxic is still only on a few given Pokemon. So anyway, this gets Toxic. It just has really good coverage. Gave me a rocker. Gave me another bulky Pokemon that I only had Slowking at this point. Gave me actually a recovery Pokemon because at this point, like, I was very focused on having pivoting with recovery, but this just kind of gave me a defensive answer that I didn't have before. Um, it also has Dragon Tail. It can pivot around their team. Like, their team has to force switches. Especially with Hazard Jump, I wanted something that could, like, actually pressure their team. Like, obviously, this is more of a defensive Pokemon, but it could definitely be offensive, too. Like, this thing has very good coverage. Um, it's like Earth Power, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, obviously Boom Burst. It's just very strong. If you throw a Specs on this thing, it's very tough to swap into. And it can be physical if need be. Like, Coil is a very valid set. It has 100 attack, which is very high. But, um, yeah, I just wanted it to be my primary ghost answer. Because at this point, I just didn't have one. And this is my Terra Captain. I did this instead of Noivern as my Terra Captain. I thought that at this point I had plenty of offense, which is pretty much why Noivern would be a Terra Captain. Like, I think Noivern generally wants to stay a flying type, or a flying dragon. Like, it generally wants to stay that type, so it's tough to Terra and then make it not that type. While the Dunsparce very much appreciates, actually, Terra. And will Terra. It will probably be my Terra most of the weeks when I have it. It was like, you could do a total of 20 points? 20, I forgot. But I think they add up to 15. And your Pokemon had to be like under 10 points. I don't remember. But the Dunsparce was my Terra. This league, you do 1 stab, 2 non-stab Terras. So obviously my stab 1 is normal. Then my other types were flying and water. I very much considered ground because I think ground is very good. But I thought flying gave me another another fighting answer in general because I just like I'm not sure. I think obviously my only weakness is fighting, so having a resisted Terra just makes on paper a lot of sense. But and then water is just universally a good Terra. Like, so the issue with it, and I'll just say this, is that obviously Slowking is gonna in general be my water type. So how often will I really Terra into a water type? I don't know, and I very much could still change this to ground because Sandy Shocks, like, I don't need this to be my rock answer or like my electric swapping constantly. Well, this can do it. Sandy Shocks can't necessarily, so this could be a ground Terra, and I still might change it depending how I feel. I'm not sure. But it also just gave me another defensive pivot that I didn't have before. Next Pokemon. This was very interesting. I did not expect this one at all. Yeah, didn't expect this one. I mean, I obviously know I drafted it, but like when I go into this draft, the Whimsicott was not a Pokemon I figured I'd pick up. But it gave me like basically everything, which was crazy because it gave me and the Dunsparce speed tier is what I want. I didn't have a slow Pokemon at that point, so the Dunsparce forces like 60s to actually run some speed. Like it forces the lower speed Pokemon to actually run speed because otherwise, like a base 70 does not need to run speed versus me. It had no purpose. So now Dunsparce actually forces it to run at least some speed. But yeah, Whimsicott. It gave me a speed tier between Noivern and Cobalion, which I definitely wanted. It gave me a fairy type, which I didn't have. It gave me another pivot. It gave me a grass type. It gave me, yeah, it's a lot more of a support Pokemon that I've never used. Well, I think I did use it one time, but this was like 2 years, 3 years. It's probably like 4 years ago actually that I used Whimsicott. It's just in general tough because it's not very bulky, but it's not very offensive either. So it's kind of tough to use because it's just neither offensive nor defensive. It's just a good pivot, not offensive, but support Pokemon. That's what it is mostly. It's my first knock user outside of Weavile, which obviously Weavile's running knock, but I didn't have another like knocker, which with hazards you definitely want, because you want to force off the boots. But priority encore was pretty useful. Priority taunt, nice. It's just a good support Pokemon. It filled the typings that I need while also filling the speed tier that I need while giving me an archetype that I didn't have. So it just kind of fit every role. It was just a role filler. Good Pokemon. It was like cheap too. And then I have one more Pokemon. Yep, this is it. This is the Pokemon. This is my other Terra Captain. This one I was like, I actually went into the draft thinking that I wanted Monk, because I just think this Pokemon's like solid. Like for a low tier, especially Terra too, because mine is Terra. For a low tier Terra, it's actually pretty solid. It's very, very specially bulky, which I feel like is not talked about at all. 105 HP with 100 special defense is insane. It's very specially bulky. Um, it gets T-Spikes too. Like it's not a good Pokemon. It's low tier for a reason, but it's my other Terra Captain, and I didn't have a Poison type. So this gave me a T-Spikes Absorber and a T-Spikes Setter, which was just good. And it gave me my other Terra Captain. This one is obviously Poison. And I did my Terra's Grass. And what's the other one? Steel. Steel could probably be changed, to be honest, because I don't think I need Steel. It should probably be Ground. But Grass, my logic there was that I only have Whimsicott as my other Grass type. And, like, I don't know. If I needed a bulkier Grass, this could definitely serve that role. Like, if need be. I obviously don't want to run this often, but if I need to, it's a Pokemon that I, like, can come. It's a solid Terra Captain. And Steel, like, Steel plus Grass gives me everything, like, I'm weak to, like, Psychic and Ground. Obviously, Grass resists Ground, and then, yeah, obviously, we know this. But this just gave me a T-Spikes Absorber and Setter. Gave me another bulky Pokemon, which I didn't have much of. Yeah, it just gave me another Terra Captain. Like, this probably won't come very much, but it can definitely be of use. Like, I guarantee you this Pokemon will at least come one time. I promise you there will be a matchup where it comes. It's very bulky. It is surprisingly specially bulky. And then you tear this into a Steel type, or a Grass type. In general, it's probably going to be a Steel type, but if need be, a Grass type. If I face, like, Rain, Grass type could definitely come. But yeah, so that's the team. I would like to know opinions, but I think it's a very, very solid team. Like, I don't really see anything too wrong with it. Like, the only thing you could really say is that I don't really have many good Pokemon. Like, I really don't have that many good Pokemon. Like, I have Weavile Goldengo early. And then I have bulky Slowking and bulky, like, the Dunsparce. But then, like, and Cleavor's pretty solid. But, like, I know a lot of people don't like Cobalion. I know nobody's as high on Noivern as I am. Sandy Shanks is alright, but it can only do so much. And, like, Mug is definitely not considered a good Pokemon, and Whimsicott too. And, like, Whimsicott being my Fairy type and Grass type kinda sucks. So, like, it's definitely flawed. I think Whimsicott does also get Defog if I need to. So that's another thing. It's just a very big support Pokemon. But, I don't know. I think the team is pretty solid. I think the only fault with it probably would be that I don't have a ton of bulk, but I don't think I need that just considering how offensive my other Pokemon are. Like Weavile plus Weavile plus Goldengo, just really solid. And I have so much pivoting. I have so much. It's unbelievable how much pivoting I have. Chilly Reception, Volt Switch, U-turn, Volt Switch, U-turn, U-turn. Yeah, I have so much pivoting. Basically, the idea of the team is get hazards up and maintain momentum. Um, yeah, which I think I could definitely do. Like, I know how I play. I play okay most of the time. But yeah, that's the team. Um, this goes up Friday. Week 1 will go up in a week from the day this goes up. Because today is, what, it's like 2 a.m., so it's Thursday. It's Thursday. This will go up tomorrow, and then week 1 will go up in 1 week. So, hopefully, we play Spider, who I don't know anything about, but good dude. Actually, very nice when I was scheduling with him. And I talked about him because he's a Ravens fan. As disgusting as that is. But, yeah, good dude. Um, but yeah, it's a team. Uh, I will. The next video, I guess you'll see a video Sunday. You'll see PBAL, but the next week of World Pokemon Photo Federation will be up in 1 week from today.